Hey everybody, and welcome back aboard Profiles from the Titanic, the series where we take a look at the people who lost their lives on board the Titanic back in 1912. And one of the things you'll also notice is I'm in a different spot right now. I'm not in the TV studio where I normally shoot these little introductions. I'm actually in my office. It's a little bit easier. I just thought I would try this out and see how that goes. But I still have my cool little stuff here in the background. My 1/6 scale sculpted Titanic clock. And by the way, if you're interested in getting one of those, or even a larger, even a full-size sculpted Titanic clock, go to titanicclock.com. Alan St. George is the wonderful sculptor. Incredible things. If you've never heard of him, or if you've never gone there, and you're an aficionado of the Titanic, oh, be prepared to be blown away with some of the stuff that you can get. And that's one of those. That's a little bookshelf Titanic clock, along with my little Titanic back here. And in the picture, you see that fine gentleman right there, and he is the subject of our profile today. By all accounts, he was just an outstanding man. You know, his name is James Clinch Smith. He was a first-class passenger, and he was, again, coming back. He kind of lived part-time in the U.S. and also in France with his wife. They were getting ready to move back permanently to the United States. He came alone without his wife to prepare the homestead and all of that, and unfortunately, tragedy struck, right? He did not make it. And we know a lot about what happened due to his good friend Colonel Archibald Gracie, who also survived, and we'll talk a little bit about him in today's profile. But again, another tragic story of a prominent person, prominent man who went down with the ship. And that's what this series is all about, to find out their stories. So hope you enjoy it. Hit the subscribe and the like button. And this is Profiles from the Titanic, James Clinch Smith. James Clinch Smith was born in 1856 in Smithtown, New York. The town was named after his ancestor Richard Bullrider Smith. James followed in his father's footsteps in studying law and eventually graduated from Columbia Law School in 1878. He began practicing law in New York City. He was very popular in social circles. He was an expert horseman and yachtsman, loved horse racing, and also played polo. In 1895, he married Bertha Barnes from Chicago, who was an accomplished musician and composer. By 1904, the couple moved to Paris so Bertha could pursue her musical career. Clinch Smith would come to the U.S. at least once a year during the following years, but by 1911 it was rumored that their marriage was in trouble. Clinch Smith never really liked his wife's chosen profession. In January of 1912, he traveled to Paris at Bertha's request. Apparently, they reconciled, and Bertha agreed to give up her career and move back to Smithtown. At the last minute, Bertha's travel plans changed, and Clinch Smith decided to go on ahead to prepare for her arrival sometime later. He boarded the RMS Titanic at Cherbourg, France. What we know about the final 2 hours of Clinch Smith's life comes to us from his good friend, Colonel Archibald Gracie. Colonel Gracie survived the disaster and wrote about his experience on board the Titanic in a book that was published later that year. Unfortunately, Colonel Gracie passed away in December of 1912 in New York. He was only 53 years old. It is said that he never fully recovered from the trauma of that night. But back on the night of April 14th, Gracie told how he and Smith made an agreement to stick to each other through thick and thin. For the 2.5 hours of the ordeal, both Gracie and Smith were on the port side, helping load women and children into the lifeboats. Near the end, Second Officer Lightoller ordered everyone to the starboard side to help with a collapsible boat. They realized it was hopeless, so Gracie and Smith decided to head for the stern, but they were impeded by a large group of people who seemed to be from either second-class or steerage passengers. As the rushing wave came upon them as the ship went under, the two men jumped up to try and grab a railing above them. Gracie was successful, and as he looked left and right, he said that Smith was gone. I never saw him again. Undoubtedly, he was engulfed by the waters and went down with the ship. Gracie wrote that he could pay no finer tribute to his friend than to recount what he did in the way of self-sacrifice, knowing no such word as fear in saving the lives of others. James Clinch Smith's body was never found. He was 56 years old. Bertha Smith survived her husband, but only by a little more than a year. She died in Switzerland from tuberculosis in August of 1913. It was said that the real reason for her death was a broken heart. Thanks for watching Profiles from the Titanic.